Well, this was awkward. Cardinal Opot sat across from Masai, and a twisted, malformed glare was present on the older man's face. His eyes radiated with absolute fury, and yet they burned behind a silent, angry mask. Masai found himself squirming a little under that gaze. Bishop Morna sat beside him, with a passive expression. Her mouth formed a thin little line under her nose. She sat back in her chair with her hands resting in her lap, and her eyes peered down at Masai with soft disappointment. Masai took calming breaths, and he did his best to sit as relaxed as possible. After all, he didn't really do anything wrong, per se. He was following the orders of their goddess, and avenging a terrible wrong performed against her. Surely they would understand that once he explained it, right? A dreaded shimmer echoed in his soul.
Do you understand why I've summoned you here, Cleric Iodos?
Masai slowly nodded and then licked his dry lips.
Is it because I inappropriately used my position as a cleric to gain what I needed to best serve the Order? Or is it because my actions made the Order look bad?
Bishop Morna placed her hands on Masai's.
If it was just the ferryman incident, it wouldn't be as grave. The issue is that you're being connected to a slaughter in the Vico district.
What makes you think I was involved?
Are you saying you weren't involved?
I'm saying if I was there, it was for official business.
The Cardinal narrowed his eyes and he interlaced his hands in front of him. His lower lip rested on the closest index finger, and so he peered over the tops of his hands like they were a part of a fence.
Strange. I don't recall sending you on any official business. Did you send him on any business, Bishop?
No, I didn't.
In an instant, Cardinal Opot slammed both of his hands, formed into fists against the flat of his table.
Whose agenda are you working toward? The Zur? One of the primary five? It's the Zur, isn't it? Bodies have been seen carried off from the Sandrat whore. Are you a Zur?
Masai shifted in his seat a little, and he held up his hands in front of him.
No, I'm not a Zur. The only agenda I am working towards is that of our goddess.
Neither of his supervisors said anything, and they watched him with brooding anticipation.
One of the men inside the Sandrat whore stole something from the necropolis. I returned it to where it belonged.
What was stolen?
An ankh belonging to a cardinal long dead.
How do you know something was stolen from the necropolis? Did you see it happen?
Yes, I saw them.
He swallowed hard, and then clenched his stomach as tight as he could. Bitterness danced at the back of his throat.
And you didn't stop them from escaping?
I did my best, but all I could do was follow them.
The bitterness that had formed had dampened a little, and his stomach became a little less tense.
That's right. You were in the necropolis because of a tomb blessing, weren't you? In all of the excitement, I have forgotten.
Another moment of silence drifted between them before Cardinal Opot stood up from his chair. He walked over to one of the windows and viewed the sky.
Tell me this, Cleric Iodos. How is it that the Zur attacked the very same moment that you were in the tavern?
What makes you think I was there at the same time?
Cardinal Opot glanced over his shoulder, and a vile harshness coated his words.
Are you saying you weren't there at the time of the attack?
Masai stood up and approached the Cardinal. He held his hands behind his back and stood with his back straight, much like his father taught him many years ago. For a brief moment, the Cardinal reared back at the sight of the gesture.
I was at the Sandrat whore. An attack happened there. I am not a Zur, and I am not affiliated with them. Any detail beyond that is adaptable.
The Cardinal gave Masai a long, weighted stare, and then turned his attention to Bishop Morna.
His willingness to warp words to suit his needs would aid him well as a bishop, don't you think?
Bishop Morna smirked.
He does have a point, I'll give him that. The problem still remains. He is seen as a pariah, one who tarnishes our image. How do we correct this perspective?
Maybe you can allow me to do something to not only clear my name, but raise Anakanti in the eyes of the people.
Cardinal Opot clasped his hands behind his back and clenched his jaw. He eased his face so that it was only a few inches from Masai's. The urge to chuckle nearly bubbled out, for his father used to do the same thing to him when Masai was a younger man.
And how will we do that?
Allow me to organize a festival to Anakanti. There are no other festivals this month, and it would provide exposure to the order.
That would be great. If we could get one of the festival squares.
Bishop Morna shifted in her seat to face Masai.
The primary 5 have paid off all the festival squares. No one will work with us.
Masai dipped into his mana well and sent out a mental message.
You told me you reign supreme in the necropolis, right? Could you use your power to create a festival square, complete with food, drink, and music?
Anakanti responded quickly.
I suppose so. Are you wanting to host a festival over here? Do you think the humans would really go for that?
I'm not sure. How soon could you create such a thing?
I would say a day or two, depending on the detail. I have never tried something that large, but I do not see why I could not.
Masai blinked a couple of times and realized that Cardinal Opot stared at him in the face, while Bishop Morna watched from her seat. At this point, a wide smile had creased across the bishop's face.
Deep in thought, are we?
Yeah, I was. Actually, we won't need a festival square. I've already made arrangements.
You have?
Masai took a few steps toward the exit of the room, but he still faced them. He stopped only after a few steps. Anything more might have been perceived as more than disrespectful.
I wanted to surprise you both, so I've been working on this little project for a while. There will be music, food, and plenty of beer.
Bishop Morna stood up, and her eyes widened.
Who did you get? You've only become a cleric recently, and festival planning takes months.
You wouldn't know them. They're from out of town. I have connections outside of Ajikos, and they believe a festival is long overdue. They're willing to put in the extra effort to put together something great in a very short amount of time. For a reasonable price.
Cardinal Opot's eyes narrowed.
What price, exactly?
Masai's palms became a little moist, so he placed his hands behind his back again. How funny, even though Masai rejected the military, the preference to stand in an at-ready stance had become more comfortable than standing casually.
They said we could pay after the festival is over, and they would only charge half the normal cost.
They would put on a festival for only 10,000 golden coins? Are they new at this? If we're going to put on a festival, we'll want it to look good.
Masai shrugged.
My contacts are new to festival planning, but I've seen their work. It's marvelous.
Cardinal Opot frowned for a moment, and then gave Masai a deep and profound stare. He let out a small sort of growl a second later.
I don't want to make our order appear less financially able than the primary 5. So we'll pay half now, and half once the festival is done.
He walked over to a large chest on the other side of the room. The Cardinal opened it, and then pulled out an enormous sack. Without saying another word, Cardinal Opot stomped over to where Masai was and plunged the sack into his chest. The sudden weight made Masai stumble back a little.
Here's 5,000 coins. I'm trusting you, Cleric Iados. I'll handle the gripes about the sand rat whore. You focus on this festival the best you can. And one other thing.
Cardinal Opot's eyes grew hotter like a noon sun.
Yes, sir?
The Cardinal poked him in the shoulder twice, very hard.
Don't you ever make a decision like this without consulting myself or the bishop first. You don't have the authority. Do it again, and I will expel you from the order and eliminate your source of mana. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Masai lowered his gaze, and a wild fire of shame ravaged every inch of his soul. Masai loved this order, and he loved Anakanti. However, even he had to admit that he might have gone a little too overboard. In choosing to best serve his beloved, he managed to bring disdain to the order itself. Masai had to do better. There had to be greater balance, otherwise he would be doing both the order and Anakanti a great disservice.
You just so happen to have 5,000 coins in your chest?
The Cardinal shrugged.
I don't always have that much lying around.
Bishop Morna turned her eye to Masai.
How soon could the festival be ready? Where's it going to be held?
Masai's lungs dragged down as if they were dipped in molten iron.
The Nefarian Necropolis.
Both the Cardinal and the Bishop stared at him incredulously.
What?
The Nefarian Necropolis. There's a large open space on the north side beyond the anointed tombs.
Cardinal Opot reached out his hand.
Give me back my money. You're not taking this seriously.
Masai took several steps back and held the money to his chest like a precious child.
No, I am taking this seriously. Think about it. What better place to have a festival to Anakanti than in a city of the dead?
Cardinal Opot glared at him.
No one would come to the necropolis at night. Not when there's drinking to be had. Do you expect people to pass out beside the crypts? And have you forgotten about the aura of unease?
Before Masai could respond, Bishop Morna spoke up.
It's not such a bad idea. The Primary Five have no jurisdiction over there. They wouldn't dare cause trouble there since that's our domain of expertise. And as for the aura of unease, I'm sure people will forget about it once they're drunk. The aura could also keep thieves at bay.
She took Cardinal Opot's arm.
Besides, it's kind of fun to think about how dangerous it'll be to party in such a scary place.
Cardinal Opot scowled at her.
Will we provide places to sleep as well? Will our clerics protect them from bandits? The city guard won't act in the necropolis. I can almost guarantee it.
There will be tomb guardians roaming around the necropolis, ensuring nothing gets taken from the tombs. And if any fights break out, we could always cast rot on the perpetrators.
The flat expressions from the pair of them made Masai hold up his hands.
I'm kidding. I can see if my contact can provide security.
Cardinal Opot gave him one last weighing glance before he threw up his hands in defeat.
Fine, but you have to approach the Fairy Guild. They've already expressed that you're banned from using their services.
Masai nodded.
I'll resolve this issue. After that, I'll head to the necropolis and help set up.
Set up? They're already at work?
The festival should be ready next week, if all goes according to plan.
Cardinal Opot gave him a hard stare before smiling.
If it's a flop, I'm going to expel you from the Order. We've never expelled anyone, but we'll have you be the first, and then we'll always reference back to it as the Great Iados Disaster.
Masai nodded.
I'll be honored for all time, even if I fail.
Don't fail. I like you, Cleric Iados. The Order could use more people like you.
Cardinal Opot returned to his desk.
Now be gone.
Masai turned and walked out of the room. As he left, he felt a cold stare upon him. Dealing with the Fairy Guild turned out to be much easier than he had expected. All he had to do was promise a funeral package upgrade for the ferryman when he died, as well as granting the guild exclusivity to ferry people across the river for the festival. Whereas normal citizens had to use the ferries, it would require the anointed to use them as well. Once this was agreed upon, the Fairy Guild forgave Masai. He arrived at the necropolis several hours after lunch. The jackals greeted him with joy, but their delight didn't compare to Anakanti's. As soon as he walked through the door, she embraced him in a tight hug and kissed him with all the fierceness a death goddess could muster. She led him up to the bedroom, and they lay beside one another. For a long time, neither said a word. But after what seemed like an hour of cuddling, Masai explained his plan to her. Anakanti caressed his ear with her fingertips.
This is very ambitious, you know. This festival will not be well received by the Five.
Do the Five know about you?
Anakanti remained silent.
You can't even talk about that? I suppose not. You can't talk about yourself at all, can you?
She shrugged. Masai leaned over and kissed her.
This festival is going to be fun. Aside from the century gathering of the death gods and goddesses, have you ever been to one?
No. I only have the basic understanding about what goes on at such an event. I'd caught glimpses of it in people's heads when I judged them, but that is about it.
Can you delve into my head and see my memories?
I should be able to. I am honored you would trust me to go rummaging in your mind.
Anakanti reached up and let her soft fingers graze his cheek.
You're my soulmate, my love, and my goddess. Everything I am is devoted to you. Please, peek inside, and maybe you can get some idea of what the festivals are supposed to be like.
Anakanti placed the flat of her hand against Masai's forehead and willed energy into and out of him. When she breathed in, Masai's body reacted in response. His soul lurched, and it waned when she exhaled. Images flashed before his eyes, and Masai knew Anakanti saw the same things he did. Fun, clever games that tested people's skills, delicious foods that made him salivate, and music that enlivened the soul. Anakanti took her palm away and gave Masai a determined look.
I have seen what they do at their festivals, and I shall surpass them. I will have better food, better music, and better games. When did you tell them the festival would begin?
Next week? We have plenty of time. After all, you can create anything you want in the cities of the dead, right?
Are you kidding me? I have to get to work. There is so much to do. It may appear easy, but I actually have to create everything in the land of the dead in order for it to be able to appear here. Good thing you're here to help me. I could use your opinion.
Anakanti leapt from the bed and took his hand.
I take it there's an exact replica of this house in the land of the dead, right? I wish I could see it.
You can.
Anakanti smiled.
I have a magic staircase connecting this house with the one in the land of the dead. If I am right, you should be able to go there in your physical form.
Masai quaked a little as he pondered the possibility.
You mentioned time passes by differently in the land of the dead, right? That means we could spend more time together between my jobs.
Anakanti smiled.
Yes, that very thought occurred to me after you left. I want to test out something once we are down there. Come.
Anakanti hurried as she pulled Masai along to the first floor, and then to the basement. Toward the back of the basement, a narrow little staircase descended into darkness. She turned to him.
I am not certain if you are uncomfortable with tight, dark spaces, but if you are, then remember, I am with you.
Although he had never had an aversion to tight quarters, the mere thought of the weird stairwell made his skin crawl.
Let's get this over with.
Anakanti led him into the dark corridor. As they continued, the space narrowed. Was it his imagination that the walls rubbed against his elbows as he walked? Or the ceiling became lower? Seconds melted into minutes, and minutes stretched into hours. Every now and then, Anakanti whispered to him.
It is not much further now. I am here with you.
Masai couldn't see in the dark, but he still felt her hands tightly gripping his. Could she feel the slick sheen of sweat on his hands? If she did, she didn't complain. After what seemed like forever, they finally emerged into a mirror image of the room they had just left. Rather than go down, the staircase went up into the darkness. The air changed as if it were tingling with death energy. Anakanti let go of his hand and turned around to face him. Her eyes conveyed concern.
Are you all right, my love?
She took in a deep breath.
I am Anakanti, the youngest daughter of the goddess Dia. I was a stillborn child at birth, and so she cast me into the void to be forgotten. Dia never told the others, my family, about me. When she realized my existence, she made me the goddess of death, but bound me with magic so I could never reveal her shame. This was unacceptable, and it will not stand. I deserve to be recognized. I deserve to be loved.
Masai stared at her open-mouthed. The words danced from Anakanti's lips, and the air rippled with power. Masai's nerves quaked wildly, and despite the tears trailing down his goddess's cheek, she appeared stronger and more splendid than she ever had. Masai went to her.
You were able to tell me your secrets. You're not bound by her laws down here.
Anakanti caressed his face.
No, I am not. And with your help, I will soon bring the fight to my dear mother. We have a lot to do. Let us get started.